Hello friends, welcome to Scientific Investing. And today's video is going to be a little bit different. So far we have spoken about sectors, we speak about stocks, we speak about data, and in that process we speak about management, but we have never spoken about management or leadership in particular. And today's video is focused on management and leadership. As an investor, our quest is to find companies which are great companies which can generate a lot of return. But in this process, basically, ये जो companies return देती हैं, wealth creation करती हैं, multi baggers बनती हैं. Basically, it's all the game of jockey and it's all the game of identifying jockey. And that is where the leadership skill comes, and that is where, as an investor, the ability and the research behind identifying the leader comes. And in my experience journey, I can see a lot of companies, like some of the companies which became really wealth creators or differentiator, whether it is Bajaj Finance or it is Cholamandalam. A lot of credit had gone to who was the person driving it. And many times some of these leaders, they become very popular, but there have been companies who have been a lot of big wealth creator, and still the leaders may not be so popular, but they have done commendable job. I think Mr. William Sobaya from Cholamandalam is one example, which is extremely respected, high performer leader, but he doesn't come in a lot of limelight. So as an investor, my quest is always to find, those kind of traits. And take this video, though I'm giving you one example where recently I am finding one person where I see those traits are present. So first disclaimer, it is not about a stock. See, the stock could be a very overvalued stock, or the company could be in a sector which may not have very high potential. But leadership skill is different. It is one of the items which is required to be ticked. But as an investor, for a successful investment, there are a lot of other things required. So take this whole exercise only as a framework of how to identifying a good leader. And then if the other things like business quality, sector, opportunity size, valuation, everything ticks, then usually those opportunities could be good opportunity. But this video is specifically on how to identify good leaders, and also when we don't have enough history of company, how to get insights on traits of leadership. So let us look at it. Now, the way I define a leadership skill from an investor perspective, there are three things which are very, very important. And the first one is the passion and hunger to grow in a sustainable way. This is very, very important for a leader, because market plays for growth and for sustainable growth. And if growth will not be there, the stock will not perform on a sustainable basis. So an investor has to look for that kind of leadership. But only passion and hunger doesn't convert into execution. So the leader also needs to execute it. So first he should have that kind of passion, because passion ही नहीं होगा तो execute क्या करेगा, and what he will try to do. और passion होने से नहीं हो जाता, they have to execute it. So then they have to execute it to convert that vision and that passion into reality, which we get in terms of number, and we track ki profit itna badha, revenue itna badha. And the last but the most important one is, after doing all of this, is to have the right capital allocation skill, because in bull market we see a lot of companies growing, and doing very well, but at the cost of balance sheet, at the cost of cash flows. But it has to be sustainable. It has to be without diluting the quality of cash flows and return on capital and balance sheet. And that is where the capital allocation skill of the leader comes, which is very, very important from an investor perspective. And basically everybody wants to grow, but there are only few have that execution skill to grow. And then out of that also, very, very few have that skill to do that with the right capital allocation skill. And as an investor, this is where leadership gets differentiated. And also the attitude to the minority shareholders, because after doing all the good work, if the minority shareholder is not able to reap the rewards, then all of this exercise is for no use. So the framework is, whenever as an investor you look for a differentiated leadership, look for these three things in sequential manner. Do they have the passion and hunger to grow in a sustainable manner? And then do they have the execution capability to do it? And what are the examples of demonstrating that execution capability? And then is it being done through the right capital allocation skill? And the attitude towards minority shareholder. So let's take it as a framework and let's try to see about this particular personality I'm going to talk about. Now, why this company got my attention? So there are, of course, business reasons and the reasons in the kind of sector it was, the kind of numbers, but also from a leadership skill. And given this was an IPO company, hardly 2 years of history, it was very difficult to build a view over the promoter. But there were a few statements made which attracted me towards some kind of differentiated leadership skill. And this is a note, it's not a transcript from a con call, it's a note, I think, from one of the AGMs which they did recently. And this is the statement the person made. We have and we want to make sure that the valuations are right as sort of we go through these opportunities for mergers and acquisitions. So he is stressing upon the importance of valuation, that he just doesn't want to acquire companies because he has got cash in hand. And we know what has happened recently in the whole tech and platform world, where the PE money flowing, companies raising money and acquiring left and right at any kind of valuation. But this person was very, very particular, and he also comes from this business is from tech background, but he is very particular about the valuation he is looking to pay. Also, he's highlighting we continue to remain very, very focused on US and European market, so that we look at opportunities to get deeper presence. And he comments about the US market, the overall tech meltdown that has happened, especially, in the US with NASDAQ. It is creating some very, very good opportunities for us, and we are spending great deal of time in evaluating and figuring out which one of these will make modest sense for us. So he's looking for M&A opportunities, but he wants to pay the right valuation and is tracking the US market. Now, why this is important is it is not only about the stock price fall which is happening in US. As a result of all this tech meltdown, the PE money has vanished. And the companies which were relying on PE money for growth without factoring the profitability, all of a sudden their oxygen has been taken, and the life support on which they were running, that life support has been taken. So companies which are sitting on cash looking for acquisition at their own terms and condition by respecting capital allocation skills, it's a good time for them. And this person seems to the person who respects capital allocation decisions. In terms of execution, so now I'm taking another example, execution. So when we are in the tech business, product business, platform business, it is not about creating one product, but it's all about innovating and re-innovating itself. And the company is actually Rate Game. And the person I'm talking about is Bhanu Chopra. So again, the whole video is about Mr. Bhanu Chopra and the possibilities of his leadership skills. I could be wrong. We always go wrong. But I'm just sharing my framework and some of the thought process. And if we see, they have been continuously executing, adding products, and over the years. There is another highlight. So passion for growth, hunger for growth, and executing. So they have been making statements about growing at 30%. And actually, if we look at the last, 3-4 quarters of the growth, they have been growing at higher rate than what they had projected, and higher rate than the way market is growing. The other thing to highlight is, because it's an IPO company, tech company, the normal mindset is promoter has come to sell his shares. Of course, some PE investors, they came for OFS, but the promoter has not offloaded significantly. I think still they hold more than 62%. And good part of money was raised for business purposes for some of the previous acquisition. So that created another interest that has the promoter done acquisitions with the right capital allocation skills in the past? So you can see some of the IPO money is being used to clear the debt of the previous acquisitions. And I did go and inquire and researched about it. So thanks to some of the research reports plus one research, they did 3 acquisitions in last 3 to 5 years, and most of these acquisitions have been done at 1.5, 1.17, 1.8 kind of revenue multiple, which is a very decent multiple. Whether the company is in loss and profit, why they're getting, that's a separate discussion. I can do that, but that will take a lot of time. In fact, we did a full detailed deep dive in our practitioner program 2 months back, and you can go through our practitioner program and take the subscription where we do these kind of detailed deep dives. But you can see he has never ever paid very high valuation, 1.5 revenue multiple. So your chances to lose is lesser. even if your acquisition decision goes wrong. And they did one more acquisition recently. So now I spoke about in AGM, they talked about watching the US market, keeping an eye on deals and trying to do acquisition at their own terms and condition. And you can see that they have done currently one acquisition, which they have done at 0.6 times sales. So are they acquiring a very bad company, or what has happened, and how again and again they are getting into these kind of deals? So again, the first acquisition which I showed you that happened in 2018, and that company has also interesting history. And actually they acquired and they have done a turnaround. So go back and read about Disco history. But again, this acquisition at such an interesting rate. So what has happened? And if you see what they're telling is when COVID happened, most of the hotel and travel industry, so RateGain is a company which is a platform company in hotel and travel industry. Most of the companies were shut and the business deteriorated. But when the industry came back to normal, they were unable to get back, and a lot of their business, because they had to retrench staff and they were never able to recover because they couldn't obtain additional funding. Now, this is what the tech meltdown and the PE funding money going off has done to many companies. And this is how they were able to acquire this company at such a lower valuation. So, see, it's the game of waiting. Like in investing, we say it's a game of sitting, it's a game of waiting. And only when we wait, when the time is in our favor, we get deals which are in our favor. So we saw one in terms of growth, hunger for growth, executing so far. I mean, it's very small period, but so far it is happening. The capital allocation skills. Also, if we look in terms of what employees say about the leader, the voice of people survey in the Glassdoor or the culture score, most of the time the CEO gets a very good score. 77% of the employees, they have recommended the CEO. 80% of the employees, they approve the CEO. There is a very good 4 rating. There is a A plus rating on culture. So all of this gives a feel that Mr. Bhanu Chopra, he is a leader who has been executing well. He has hunger for growth. He has been executing that growth. Whether the path taken in terms of doing these deals and all, whether it will give fruitful result or not. So in some of the older deals, actually, these deals have been proven, path breaking in the journey of company. And let's see how this deal will convert. But I believe he is somebody who is worth tracking in terms of differentiated leadership skill, keeping all the valuation and the company and financial analysis separate. One more thing, a trait of a leader, because as one grows, the delegation of power and hiring the right people who can do the job for him becomes important. And I try to collect a lot of data about RateGain, all the people who are at leadership position. And if I look at it, very good education, people look like they are doing very well in their field. So I am just providing the data over that. But the idea is not only this, because even a lot of tech companies are doing it, but they're burning cash. So creating the right leadership, hiring people from very good, domain background, education background, but still running a profitable business, and with the right capital allocation skill, with the right acquisition. So all these things have to come and sum up, and that is how true leaders are born. So I would be very interested to track how this particular CEO is doing in his business for next 3 to 5 years and in the longer term. And let's see how RateGain does as a company business wise, because still I am not commenting on valuation, because valuation is a very different topic. So I hope this exercise of framework to identify leadership, wearing an investor hat, and how to track, how to monitor, both in terms of presence of data as well as lack of, listing history data. I hope this was useful, and I hope this will help you in your investing journey in identifying the right jockey and then riding on the jockey for wealth creation, provided all the other blocks fall in place. So I'll see you with another video soon. Thanks for your time.